Your 3 clips into a character-driven scene and Veo 3.1 just cuts you off at 8 seconds, again, while Seedance 2.5 keeps rolling without a stitch. Seedance 2.5 is built for long, continuous shots. Veo 3.1 is built for polished, budgetable production, and one of them fits your workflow, and one of them doesn't. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Test 1. Cost per clip. You've already quoted a client budget for 100 clips a month, and then the invoice lands at 3 times what you modeled because you used the wrong per second rate. Veo 3.1 publishes its API price at 0.15 to 0.40 per second. Seedance 2.5's number is still community reported, and that gap could wreck a line item. I looked at both pricing structures, and the community reported rates for Seedance 2.5 come in at 0.004 to 0.303 per second, which on a 10-second clip works out to roughly 0.47 to 1.06. Veo 3.1's official API runs 1.50 to 4 dollars for the same clip. Seedance 2.5 looks cheaper, but those numbers aren't official from ByteDance, so budget with a buffer if you're staking a production line item on them. Seedance 2.5 takes cost per clip on raw numbers, likely cheaper per second, even at the top of its community range, and that puts Seedance 2.5 up 1 to nothing. I expected Veo 3.1's transparent pricing to offset the gap, but the dollar difference is wide enough that Seedance 2.5 wins this one even with the caveat attached. I've run into that exact pricing trap with AI video tools, and it's the kind of thing you only catch after you've already quoted a client. So drop a comment if a murky per second rate has bitten you on a real project. Test 2. Coding benchmark performance. You're evaluating these tools for a production pipeline, and someone on your team asks how they score on standard coding benchmarks, which is a fair question, except Seedance 2.5 and Veo 3.1 are both pure video generation models, so there's no code to run, no benchmark to score, and the answer is just not applicable. I checked both model cards and every sourced spec I could find, and neither Seedance 2.5 nor Veo 3.1 publishes a single coding benchmark because they're video generators, not language models, which makes this dimension a non-starter for this comparison. The scorecards on screen reflect that. No data, no score for either side. Neither model scores here because neither model does code, so the tally stays at Seedance 2.51, Veo 3.10, one dimension skipped, and we move on to where the real differences start showing up. Test 3. Generation speed. You're on a deadline, a client wants 20 clips reviewed by end of day, and your video model is sitting at 3 to 4 minutes per 8-second render, which is an hour of wall time just waiting. If one model has a fast mode that genuinely cuts that in half, it changes the whole production math for same-day turnarounds. Veo 3.1 has a documented fast mode that completes an 8-second clip in 90 to 120 seconds, versus 3 to 4 minutes in standard mode, roughly 2 times faster on paper. Seedance 2.5 has a near real-time claim that ByteDance hasn't officially confirmed, and Curious Refuge Labs found the fast gains modest in practice. So watch the speed cards on screen. Veo 3.1, fast is documented. Seedance 2.5's number is still community reported. Veo 3.1 takes generation speed because its fast mode is documented at roughly 2 times standard throughput, even if the real-world gains are modest, and that ties the overall score at 1 each with 1 dimension skipped. I had expected Seedance 2.5's near real-time claim to hold up, but without official confirmation from ByteDance, Veo 3.1 wins this one on documented evidence alone. So it's level at 1 apiece, and the two tests still ahead are the ones that actually decide whether cheaper per second matters at all. Context and output limits is coming up next, and if the clip length gap is as wide as the spec sheets suggest, it could completely flip how you think about the cost math you just saw and the deployment test. After that is worth sticking around for too. Test 4, context and output limits. You're shooting a 30-second walking scene with a single character and you need consistent framing across every shot. But if your model caps out at 8 seconds natively, you're manually stitching 4 clips together and hoping the face doesn't drift, which is a production cost problem that gets worse every time you add a reference. Seedance 2.5 generates 30 seconds natively, which is 3.75 times longer than Veo 3.1's 8-second cap with no stitching required, and it accepts up to 50 multimodal references, 30 images plus 10 videos plus 10 audio files, versus Veo 3.1's 3 reference images, and it outputs at 4K, where Veo 3.1 tops out at 1080p. Across the board on the limits cards, Seedance 2.5 is in a different league for long-form character work. Seedance 2.5 wins context and output limits, and that puts it ahead 2-1 with 1 skipped. The 30-second native clip length is the number that matters most here because it directly removes the stitching problem that makes long-form character work so expensive on competing models. Test 5, deployment and modality. You're a team already running on Google Cloud, your billing is on Vertex AI, and your audio pipeline is baked into Gemini. So swapping in a model that routes through a China-first API and doesn't plug into any of that is a full infrastructure rebuild. And where each model actually lives in your stack matters as much as what it can generate. Veo 3.1 plugs into AI Studio, Gemini, Flow, and Vertex AI globally, while Seedance 2.5 runs through Volcano Engine, which is China first, so global API access is limited. Seedance 2.5 does add reference to video mode and region-level editing that Veo 3.1 doesn't have, but on native audio, community reports consistently praise Veo 3.1's audio depth and character quality, while Seedance 2.5's audio is still unverified. Veo 3.1 takes deployment and modality on ecosystem reach alone, and that brings the final score to 2 each with 1 skipped. I didn't expect Seedance 2.5's China-first API to be this limiting for global teams, but if you're already on Google Cloud, Veo 3.1's integration advantage is real, and it's not subtle. Seedance 2.5 wins on clip length, resolution, and reference depth. 30 seconds native versus 8 seconds means no stitching on long-form scenes. 50 multimodal references versus 3 images means real character consistency across shots. And 4K output versus 1080p means your footage holds up in post. On raw production capability for character-driven work, the gap is pretty wide. Veo 3.1 wins on transparency, ecosystem, and audio. Its API pricing is published and official at 0.15 to 0.40 per second, so you can actually build a budget around it. Its fast mode is documented at roughly 2 times standard speed, and it lives natively inside Google's stack with community-praised audio depth that Seedance 2.5 hasn't matched on record. If you need 30 seconds of continuous, character-consistent footage at 4K, pick Seedance 2.5 right now. And if you need published API pricing and Google ecosystem integration, Veo 3.1 is your tool. The decisive reason comes down to this: 30 seconds native, no stitching. 50 references is a production workflow advantage that a per-second price gap can't undo. One thing the spec sheets don't mention: Veo 3.1's extended length tops out at around 148 seconds only if you chain 20 consecutive 8-second extend operations, and each extend is a separate API call at full price, so a 2.5-minute sequence costs you 21 renders, not 1, which is a billing structure most teams don't model until the invoice lands. Alright, so if you're weighing up other models in the same tier, I did a full breakdown on Claude Sonnet 5, should you use it, and it covers a lot of the same cost versus capability questions we just ran through here, so the link is right there.